Good evening, everyone. So, the dynamic dual presidency is now been labeled one of the worst presidencies ever to be curated, ever to be selected, ever to be elected. They said Jimmy Carter was bad. I mean, I wasn't around then, but I'm pretty sure he was. I could have dig back into some of his legislation and policies and laws and see some of the things he did and see some of the things he didn't do. But nonetheless, we are here today. Now, Generation X, with the front half end of Generation Z, voted for Biden. Especially in the melanated community, 87% of us voted for Biden. We also voted for Kamala Harris, also known as a top cop. And we're getting to that this evening, but we need to talk about how this government has been conducive to the struggles in America, right? They've been an aid. So I'm no conservative. I'm no MAGA hat loving. I'm no Trump supporter. And I'm no jig dancing, twerking, bussified, Juneteenth Democrat. I'm neither one. In most parts, I'm apolitical because I believe that the country should be ran by policies. What is he talking about? I pose this to the American government. Instead of showing candidates who are running for office or running from some sort of political position, take, for instance, the presidency. Instead of allowing the people to see the president or who are running for president, only show us their policies, black and white. That's it. Because it's almost like a popularity competition. Have you noticed that, family? Think about it like this. America was trucking on, doing well. During the election time, people started to complain about Trump and he was racist and he is homophobic and, he's all these particular things. And I'm not defending Trump, by the way. I'm just kind of giving you a compare and contrast so you can make up your own biased, opinion. But the country was doing phenomenally well until the pandemic hit. And then, of course, he did not handle that right at all. But in some aspects, look at the economy. The economy was still stable. I don't know how. People got laid off from their jobs. Homelessness rates rose up. They had to do eviction moratoriums to keep people inside of their homes. But nonetheless, the economy was still stable. America wasn't at war with Russia. I mean, not America, but Ukraine. Just think about it, family. It's almost like Trump must have did the most horrible job possible because soon as Joe Biden got it, the country started to fall apart, right? And then if you look at it, you're like, that's how it is. You can't blame this president for that president's faults because the policies, legislation, and laws that they put in place take time, right? They take time for them to take effect, right? Things goes in transformation. Things operate in phases. Let me turn this down some, family. There we go. But when we look at these things, all the events that occurred while Joe Biden has been in office has been simply all on him. Right? Because at first, Donald Trump didn't do no mandates for the pandemic. He was even against masks at one point in time. Then got convinced by your boy Fauci, like, yeah, we probably need to wear masks and do social distancing, right? Long story short, let me just speed ahead. When Joe Biden comes into office, I mean, literally, he's been in office, 2 years? 1 year? 2 years? 2020. That's right. 2 years. He's been in office 2 years, family. And he's been making so many mistakes that the only thing we are in constant chaos, right? Constant chaos. We're just coming out the pandemic, regardless of Trump handling it right or not, it was a pandemic. That's kind of the way I look at it. No one knows how to really handle a pandemic because they happen like every 100 years. Think about that. No president really doesn't know how to handle a pandemic because they happen every 100 years. This is the first pandemic that we can truly say affected the world, right? The world, and we have technology to and data to collect and save for the next generation, right? This is the first time. Now they wrote books about it, but there was not enough data. They didn't record everybody's name. They didn't go in hard to reach areas. They didn't offer things for free. There's a lot of things that happened since the last pandemic in America that they didn't have the resources that we do now, that we can offer vaccines and tests for everyone to get everybody back up and running again, right? So I don't even blame Donald Trump or Joe Biden really for how they handle the pandemic. I don't think we should. They don't picture you in the office. You don't know. You don't know. Like, I don't know. They should curate a vaccine and we should start wearing masks. But really, no one knows how to handle a vaccine. Think about it like this. I'm going to make it very layman. What if every 100 years someone broke their leg? Like, breaking your leg was just unheard of. I really want for you guys to tune in on that and really churn your mind to my thoughts. Think of something simple as a broken leg, but think about it. It only happens to one person one time a year. How will we go about handling broken legs? It will always be a new thing. Is it a compound fracture? Is it a simple fracture? Should we push the bone back in? Should we fuse them? Nobody really knows. That's the point I'm making. It happens every 100 years. You know, some people's children has died already. So lineage are wiped away in 100 years. So a lot of information and data gets deleted and gets lost during that time. Here's another one. Good evening, Jay Darnell. Nice to see you, brother. So I don't blame neither president for the pandemic. So let's just focus on the economics of things, right? Now, before we get into this does play a role in economics because during this whole abortion, Roe versus Wade being overturned, a large part of the medical industry is being wiped away. Oh, yeah. A large part of the medical industry is being wiped away because they had over like 67% of abortion clinics in Black communities. I mean, some people are Black and brown in Black communities, right? And in that, it almost encourages you to have sex, does it not? Girl, if I go get pregnant from Leroy, I'm just going to get an abortion, right? But then white women started to increase in the percentage of them getting abortions, and they start to outnumber Black women. Fun fact. White women were having more abortions than Black women. Black women were actually, to a certain degree and percentage, were having their children. But white women are like, nah, I'm only 17. I'm only 18. I'm only 19. I won't be able to go to college. I don't want kids till I'm 28. So they was, it's past the, what's that overnight pill? The day after? It's past that time. Now I got to go in and go to the urgent care. I don't know if they do it at the urgent care, but it has to be a physician that does it. But you get what I'm getting at, family. So when it comes to this whole abortion thing, this is also a financial market that has been decimated. Number one. Yeah, we can get into the conversation of pro-choice and pro-life. And then some people are talking about their rights according to the Constitution. The Constitution don't have the word abortion in it. During those times, and I've said this and I'll keep saying it over and over again, the Constitution was a great document during its time. 1800s. We're in the 21st century, going into the 22nd century. The Constitution needs to be updated, revised, revamped, reworded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the foundation of America that we keep trying to operate of, but we are every evolving world. We are every evolving country. So those are very pertinent things to look at, is it not? But anyway, Biden calls abortion decision a sad day, urges Americans to elect pro-abortion rights official. Now, here's the question. Is it right to have an abortion or is it not? Or do you have the right to be responsible? What's going on, Clyde? Nice to see you, brother. See, no one talks about the responsibility of it all. And I said this before. I said, you already have pro-choice. Women already have pro-choice. Tell me if you can prove me wrong. Women already have pro-choice. You know why? They have the choice to have sex and not have sex. Of course, there's some things that are very controversial, so to speak, or some things we're going to just leave to the side. In cases of sexual assault and rape, that's a whole nother topic. I'm talking about with the exception of. So when you really look at this, it's pro-choice, right? You have the choice to have sexual intercourse and you don't have to have sexual intercourse. Now, when you lay down and you make the choice to have sexual intercourse, then just know that it's a 50-50 chance that you have a child. Now, I'm not going to get into the medical documents of things because I'm not going to look it up really quickly here, but there's a certain percentage of women, how many times you have sex. There's a, algorithm of sorts of the possibility of you getting pregnant. So every time you lay down and you have unprotected sex, then guess what? Your chances of getting pregnant are increasing more rapidly than people who are not having sex, right? That's just common sense. I'm going to go a little deeper here. Let's go to it. Let's go to what these white guys are talking about, right? Here we go. At the time, Roe, 30 states still prohibited abortion at all stages. In the years prior to that decision, about a third of the states had liberalized their laws, but Roe abruptly ended that political process. It imposed the same highly restrictive regime on the entire nation, and it effectively struck down the abortion laws of every state, every single state. And they talk about Justin Byron. We're going to move down here a little bit. We're not reading all the document. I'm just giving you some key points here. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, and including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, that provision has been held to guarantee some rights that are not mentioned to the Constitution, but any such right must be deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition and implicit in the concept of order. And somebody said, what the hell does all that mean? It means that it never was about the right of women to bear, or I don't want to say kill, murder, delete, get rid of. Yeah, get rid of is probably a good way to go about it. To get rid of their kids. Now, there's going to be all sorts of arguments about this for the next 3 or 4 months. It's going to cool off like everything else, but it's not going to last no more than 6 months unless those activist groups still protesting, right? But nonetheless, when you look at this, family, women do not have the right to destroy or delete a living cell. I'm going to go with that because people going to get into the 23 weeks, 24 weeks fetus and da-da-da. Okay, let's just say it's a cell and it has life, right? It's almost like a symbiote that's been fed off the mother when it gets to a certain week because she feed him through, is it a fallopian tube? I don't remember, but anyway, fallopian tube, I think that's in the, man, you know what? Don't go with that, family. Let me move on. So let's go to the Constitution, and we're going to kind of change here. Just want to switch up a little bit here, because since we know that abortion is not in the Constitution, the next one we probably need to kind of just cover very quickly. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. They should not respect it, right? or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, meaning you have freedom of religion, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Now, America is a majority Christian country. So, question, if you guys know about business, just type in this question right here. Bear with me, my keyboard is split. What does it say right here? I know some of you are going to say that Wikipedia is not a reputable source, but in this case, Wikipedia is a reputable source because that's the truth. My apologies. United States churches are generally exempt from paying taxes. So I'm just pointing out some discrepancies here about how we totally violate the Constitution all the time, right? Because some people said that, oh, the Constitution to its interpretation and the etymology of words is up for interpretation. That the Constitution doesn't speak in matter of factly. It's kind of like if the Constitution is the foundation of America, then shouldn't it be rock solid? Because if you bought a house and your foundation got cracks and leaks all in it, eventually your house is going to fall. So that's what they must be saying, because there's a lot of fallacies within the Constitution. Now, granted, like I said before, family, the Constitution was a great document during the 1700s and 1800s, but it needs to be updated. Because we are already breaking this by letting churches just, oh, you operate as a business, not a religious entity, and we can exempt all your taxes. So why not start a church? Everybody's trying to start a business. How about you start a church? If you go to church, start a church, you got a business and you don't have to pay taxes. Because guess what? You buy your house under the church, right? LLC. You buy all your cars under the church, and all of them are tax exempt. And then you got people that come into your doors that gather and worship with you, and they give you money from their heart for the church and your paycheck as well. Like it's great. I know people ain't gonna like that part, but what do I know? Let me see what you guys are stating here. Much respect. I'm listening back, but there's a channel called, I was telling you about how you really help people financially, young and old. Salute. Thanks for the information, brother. Let's see here. What do you think about them trying to overturn Brown versus Board? I'm going to put your channel in their chat. Thank you, 45 Black. I appreciate that, man. CL says, I don't think the proper word is overturn. Okay. But yeah, we'll cover that. Let me just finish here very quickly, guys. So second one, we're talking about guns. And a lot of people have all these ideologies, but just don't read the Constitution, right? Because a lot of these states are reverting back to constitutional carry, where they just go to the Second Amendment and say, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed, right? Should not be messed with. I'm not going to stay a long time here, but I'm going to try to give you a better understanding of the Second Amendment when it comes to get your hands off my guns, because my forefathers put in place that none of these guns will be touched. Let me break this down. First and foremost, no civilian should have an assault rifle. No AR-15, no AK-47s, no Dracos, no nothing. You should not be able to buy an assault weapon in the United States of America as a regular citizen. The military, that's different. Why in the hell do we have assault rifles on in American cities, in American states? Outside of sport, the purpose of an assault rifle, the word assault, is to cause as much damage and carnage in a short amount of time than you could with a shotgun or rifle. Because a shotgun, click, click, bang, click, click, bang. A rifle, pow. If you're fast, pow again. But an assault rifle is, we're talking about hundreds of bullets in minutes. Let's look at it again. It states well-regulated militia. Well-regulated militia. If you guys go and look up your cinnamon, your thesaurus, you will understand that the word well means good. It means good. Well means good, right? And what does regulated mean? Because these people was like, oh, we have a right to bear arms according to the Constitution. But it states here, it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. But it also says a well-regulated militia, meaning that it has to be regulated. People not just going out buying guns from the pawn shop and gun shops. No, that's not being regulated. Then some people is not even being recorded. Their background, we're not even do due diligence when we're giving out handguns, shotguns, rifles, and assault rifles. We're not doing our due diligence, right? Because again, my firm belief as a veteran is that civilians should not have assault rifles. Outside of sport, and we shouldn't have any sports where you're trying to shoot assault rifle. Let's just wipe them all out. Like, keep that for the military. Keep that for the military. We got enough guns. We got handguns, we got rifles, we got shotguns, we got all sorts of guns, right? But in the gun safety bill, you know they didn't ban any guns, right? FYI, spoiler alert. If you read the new gun safety bill that the Democrats, sorry about that, they already signed the bill and they didn't ban any weapons. It was literally a do nothing bill. We're going to go over it. But anyway, regulated means organized. It means under authority. It means control. That is what well-regulated mean. Regulated, okay? So organization, not just people going out and buy guns. Then it says being necessary to the security of a free state, because they didn't want federal government to essentially take over the state governments. They wanted to be united but separate, if that makes sense, in the way they can govern themselves. Thus, we have governors and lieutenant governors, right? Then I'm gonna move on. Last one. This is a great one. You guys are gonna love this one. Amendment 4 of the Constitution. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, their houses. How many times you've heard of these weird stories where police are just shooting inside your window, or they're going inside a military style and clearing rooms and killing people? But the Constitution, that's why I say we violate the Constitution all the time. We violated the First Amendment of the Constitution. We violated with churches and being tax write-off for their churches. And then we talked about how America violates the Second Amendment because anybody can buy guns and is not organized, and they allow the states to do whatever the hell they wanted to do in these states. And this is where I believe that the federal government should be taken over. They should be taking over this whole industry of guns. It should be a federal system, right? Because states, they lack the capacity, but not the technology to make systems that talk to each other in all the 50 states. But they haven't done that yet. You can essentially buy a gun in Utah and go to Minnesota, and they don't know you registered to have a gun. That's what I mean. It needs to be a federal system. I know a lot of you guys don't like big government. Neither do I. But on this, it needs to be big government control to have eyes on the guns. We have in America, speaking very macro here, we have families that are losing their husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, uncles and aunts, sisters, literally children. No one's essentially safe when somebody just decide in a city, in a town, I'm depressed, so I'm gonna go get an AR-15 or get another type of assault rifle and do a mass shooting. Think about that, family. So anyway, you might disagree on that. Let's see here. We got C. Collins over here. He's stating the right of the people. We shouldn't be able to buy abortion pills, Plan B, but we do. Absolutely. They're like death pills, right? Think about it. Plan B. Did anybody ever just pick up? What was your plan A? What was your plan A that you had to go to a plan B, which is essentially a poison pill? What? But the rights of people should not be infringed. Right. Good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. Now read the Second Amendment again. Well-regulated militia. And that they have that well-regulated militia is necessary to keep their states free. The land that they operate in, right? We all operate in a state except for DC. But the state that you operate in, to keep that free by a well-regulated militia. Then it reinforces it and says the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. So the people who are necessary for free state in a well-regulated militia. That's why. Not just a bunch of ragtag bag people running around with guns. Now, granted, somebody's going to make the argument that during the war against the British, that they were ragtag bag groups. No, they were actually organized. Yeah, they were farmers, they were hunters, they were ranchers, they were all these different types of people, but they came together and became organized with their guns. They set many ambushes for the British. Let's see here. Draco says gun ghost is going to be the problem if they did take it away, assault rifles. I agree. So the only way a person can be secured in their houses are, I don't know, brother, a bulletproof wall, a bulletproof window. Let me finish it, by the way. It states that, okay, the right of the people to should be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Right? That's what the Constitution says. So we base America off the Constitution, no matter what it is, the state or the federal government, then you should be secure and not just unreasonably be checked in your home or on your person for your papers. And that happens a lot in the melanated community. And the reason why I know this is because this has happened to me. And I don't even have a record at all. I barely have a speeding ticket. So just to kind of give you a one-on-one with it, it also states should not be violated and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause. Probable cause. Now, the word probable, it's a difficult word for me to comprehend. I'm going to be real with you, family. It's a difficult word. You know why? What is probable? Can you guess? Like if a police officer says, well, I have probable cause. I probably spelled that wrong, but who cares? Oh, I spelled it right. All right. This is what probable cause means. It's reasonable grounds for making a search, pressing a charge. Warrants allow police to detain people, but not handcuff and search them without probable cause. Anybody understanding probable cause? Probable cause in the Constitution, family. But here's the thing. This is basically saying you being searched, you being seized in any manner is the discretion of the police officer. I told you the Constitution is flawed in my opinion. Absolutely. They didn't leave anything that's in matter of fact. They left all these things up to interpretation. And maybe that was meant to be in order for states to interpret the way they want, but give them a baseline. I don't know. But yeah, I think you got something on you. So let me search you. Oh, okay. Let me continue on. You guessed it, guns. The biggest problem in New York City. All right. CL says he's a 7-year military police. Okay. But what do you think, CL? You think that American people should be able to buy assault rifles? We're going to jump over to Top Cop. Look, we're going to jump over to the only black women in the United Senate. Yep. Your homegirl, your melanated sister, your Indian sister, whatever she want to choose for that week, that month, or that year, Kamala Harris. And yeah, Miss Harris had described herself. See, when you grow up, family, or you in these business sectors and corporations, etc., guess what? You don't give yourself a nickname. Your family, your friends, your co-workers, your associates do that, right? But Ms. Harris had described herself as a progressive prosecutor and top cop in her previous roles in California. But her record ranked both liberals and conservatives, so she was all the way jacked up. Here's the thing, though. They talk about Kamala Harris, her police reform. It says back in 2015, of course, people can change their mind over time, but did not support efforts to ensure incidents of police deadly force in California were independently investigated or that all officers should wear body cams. See, that's that top cop when she don't enforce where the police are implying deadly force to the civilians and they're making all these complaints. And the only thing you have to do is ensure back in 2015 that you made and mandated and put into law that all cops must wear body cams. But she didn't. Oh, top cop, Kamala Harris. Now, this presidency had been looked at as trash. That's pretty much as lame as I can get. But this presidency has been labeled the worst since Jimmy Carter. It's been labeled the worst since Jimmy Carter. Did you know that top cop Kamala Harris, that she is trying to put together a plan to pump $10 trillion for a climate plan for net zero? It says in her presidential campaign, she outlined $10 trillion climate plan for the net zero emissions by 2045, $10 trillion. Now, they only have 2 years left in office. If we are in a recession now, gas prices are high, food prices are high, right? I'm just totally confused how this $10 trillion plan is going to get signed into law and be utilized the right way. I digress. Now, going back to the Sun Gate, because I kind of want to stay here for a second. Going back to the gun safety, excuse me, family. Going back to the gun safety bill, there was a 65-33 with 15 Republicans win to sign this into law. And I highlighted a couple of things here. It says that the gun deal includes millions of dollars for mental health. So first and foremost, I just want to let you know, no guns were banned in this law. No guns were banned, first thing. But you're going to give millions of dollars of mental health. So it's kind of like tackling the problem from the branch versus the root, because the reason why you had this in the gun bill is because people have all these mental issues that go out with these assault weapons and handguns, all types of weapons. I'm not against assault rifles, but they should not be in the hands of American citizens. You got to really, put that aside for the military. But anyway, I really want you to look at that. A lot of people are developing mental health issues from gun shootings, mass shootings, like people who be part of these mass shootings. For that, some of them last a minute, some of them, like the last one, last an hour. They're going through all these traumatizing moments. So they had to put millions of dollars inside of the gun safety bill to help people with their mental health issues from a lot of these mass shootings. Because that's the only reason why this came about, right? Was the mass shootings, right? We always had gun problems in America, but the mass shootings are the ones that get the attention of the politicians. So when we look at this, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to ban any guns, but we're going to give them help. We're going to sign across millions of dollars when they have mental health issues. Okay, that makes sense. No sense at all. Not to me. Make significant changes to the process when someone ages 18 to 21 goes to buy a firearm and close. Oh, what? Listen, family. It also makes significant changes to the process when someone ages 18 to 21. What does that mean? It makes significant changes. That 18-year-olds can't buy assault rifles, but they can buy every other gun? Look into it. Maybe they had Kyle Rittenhouse to help them write this. I don't know. I don't know. Then closes the so-called boyfriend loophole. With the boyfriend loophole, right, is basically anybody you've been in intimate contact with, right? Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, doesn't matter, right? And you get into you get charged with domestic violence, right? You have that on your record, domestic violence. Well, it states that if you have a domestic violence charge against you, you can no longer own a firearm. You can never handle, carry, or own a firearm. But this is crazy to me, right? This is crazy. But if you don't commit any other crime in 5 years, you can get your guns back. Yep. You can get your guns back. But think about it like this. If you take, for instance, go to prison on a felony of domestic violence. So you can go to jail and be a felon and come back out and own and operate a gun. But wait a minute, I thought if you went to prison and it was a felony, that when you came back out, you couldn't own guns anymore. Maybe some of you guys will catch what I'm saying. There's a lot of discrepancies in this. That's all. It's crazy to me, though. It absolutely crazy to me. Let me see if I have any more notes here. I think I'm gonna move on. We're gonna I'm gonna read some of your notes and I'm gonna move over to inflation. Okay. All right, no notes there. So, family, inflation. Inflation is still at 8.6%. And again, what has the presidency, whether it be Top Cop or Jim Crow Joe, what have they done to actually lower the rate of inflation? Some of you are probably asking, well, presidents can't essentially do anything. They don't have any economic power. Yes, they do. And that's a major difference between the Donald Trump presidency and the Joe Biden presidency. Because when President Trump was in office, all that legislation he was signing for businesses and small businesses, he kept the economy of America up. He did. American businesses was doing real good. I ain't say the people. From an economic standpoint, we're talking about the businesses and services and products of America, we were doing absolutely terrific, right? But now we have the war in Ukraine with Russia and Ukraine, and we're pumping billions of dollars to Ukrainians. We have coming right out the pandemic, right? We got a shortage of semiconductor chips, so that's why you see all these shortages of cars. Most people are buying used cars now. You see all these things happening in America. And we still are supporting this presidency. We're still rooting and tooting for them. Now, first and foremost, understand that I mostly like to focus on policies because we get tied up with people, right? We're going to go into their background. We're going to see what they have done and have not done. I mean, that don't mean anything to Black people because, again, we went into Joe Biden's history. We looked at his past. We've seen his policies that essentially attack majority of Black neighborhoods. We've seen mass incarceration. We heard some of the very inflammatory racist rhetoric about not letting his child go to the jungle with those people. Like all of these things we already know. We saw when he got up on the Breakfast Club and he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. Kind of like the slave master mentality. like I own you. I can't. If you black and you don't vote for me, well, you're gonna get a whipping. And regardless of all those things that occurred, he never offered reparations. And anytime he was asked about reparations, he was talking about immigration. And I'm not going to even get on immigration today, but that's what he was talking about. Right? And almost every single policy that Joe Biden has, because I'm looking at the policies now. I looked at the guy, now I'm looking at the policies. All of his policies cost money. It never saved money. It never saved money. None of his policies never saved money. So to this day, there's a group of people, a minority that are recognized in America that gets reparations. These guys, the Native Americans, you guys know that. They're on reservations funded by the federal government, which is considered sovereign land. It's their own land, but the tax dollars of Americans fund it. And don't let no one tell you that Native Americans don't receive free housing and monthly stipends, because yes, they do. I think they're the smallest recognized population in America, but they has the highest percentage of alcoholism. Well, yeah, you get a check every month, you got free housing. What else you got to do? You don't need to work. And I'm not hating. Because somebody say, well, if the black community was getting this money like this, we would be just like them. No, we wouldn't. See, there are some times of late that I haven't really looked into history or really talked about it because I wanted to stay very relevant. But in order to understand what you can do, sometimes you have to look back where you come from. And believe me, we will not be alcoholics like that at that same percentage. And I'm not saying that all Native Americans are alcoholics. I'm just saying by the data, by their percentage, they have the highest. Okay? Right. So it's a strong middle class is the backbone of America and the tribal nations. It goes into they want to help tribal nations to do what? For economic growth of the country through them. Right? And I'm going to just scan through here, but it goes on to say now they already gave Native Americans last year, $31 billion, the most any presidency has ever gotten. Joe Biden gave him $31 billion. Okay. Not even Obama gave him that much. Then looking at the projected budget, and they're going to sign it here pretty soon. They said the 2023 budget will make these important investments while cutting the deficit by more than $1 trillion. Really? You're going to cut $1 trillion from the national debt? Okay. All right, let's see how they're going to cut this debt. Let's look at this. The budget includes $91 billion in mandatory funding and increase of $2.9 billion above 2021. Wait a minute. The budget significantly increases. The budget increases the health services for Native Americans. Okay, so you're going to give them $2.9 billion. Okay, well, I guess if you spend more money, you can cut the deficit by $1 trillion. Yeah, wow. Okay. The budget makes the largest annual investment in tribal nations in history, $4.5 billion for the Department of the Interior Tribal Program at $1.1 billion increase above the 2021 enacted level. Okay, I see a lot of money that's been increased and continue to operate. Okay. $156 million to increase the support construction work. Okay, so you're going to give them more money. Don't forget, we're going to cut this deficit by $1 trillion. The budget provides $632 million in tribal public safety. The budget includes $470 million to reduce maternal mortality and mobility rates. Okay. Wait a minute. And some of you can go read this for yourself in case you think I'm skipping some of the parts that, the budget is going to, the deficit is going to be cut down by. Believe me on this one, family. But you can still go fact check. You ain't going to find it. $660 million in tribal climate funding at the interior. Okay, more money. $1 billion in HUD, housing urban development. Okay, $1 billion to Native Americans in urban development, houses in urban development. Oh, they got urban development on reservations. $1 billion. But anyway, okay. I'm just looking at it, family. That's all. But yeah, I wanted to show you that because that's some of the money, right? They passed this. They also snuck it in because initially when they made this plan, this was very bold about it and did a whole news story about how they was giving Native Americans $31 billion. Then a lot of people was lashing out, right? Because a lot of people didn't know Native Americans were getting all this money, right? So people was hating. I wasn't hating. I just want our reparation for our people. They're getting theirs. Good thing. Not hate. But I am going to compare. American Rescue Plan has $31 billion coronavirus solutions for Native people. Family, did we see anything about coronavirus over here? Hold up. Let me go this one. Senate passes largest investment in Native programs in history. More than $31 billion heading to Native communities. Oh, okay. Then they says more than $31 billion for tribal governments and their programs. The American Rescue Plan delivers the largest one. They hid this bill in another bill. They hid $31 billion. Well, I take that back. They didn't hide it. They just know majority of American people ain't gonna go read all this boring stuff, but that's very, very important. But they knew that. But they put it in there. This is the only thing you saw on TV. And then places like, you saw stuff like this. American Rescue Plan. They're going to help build roads and bridges and this and that. But did you ever hear it? Yeah, they're giving $31 billion to Native Americans. They don't like to talk about it because they know black people are going to come out the woodwork. They're going to come out the project like, man, y'all giving a lot of money to people, man. Where our reparations, dog? You know how we going to be, family. 8.6 inflation. Here we go. Let's move on. So other than Native Americans and the Asian Americans getting billions of dollars or in legislation, right? We know all that occurred. The legislation's anti-Asian hate. LGBT got their protections under the law. They all got money within their bills. Go read it for yourself. But here we go. I'm just showing you all the money that the Democrats, and I hate to label the Democrats because even though they got majority of the House and Senate, but still, I'm talking about the dynamic duel here, okay? Well, let's look at it. U.S. foreign aid spending of 2021, right? We're halfway through 2022, so they're still doing estimations there. This is crazy, family. We give over $700 billion to Europe and Eurasia. We give $1 trillion to East Asia and Oceania. We give $1.7 trillion to the Western Hemisphere. To ourselves or Canada and Mexico. 1.8 trillion to South Central Asia. So Eurasia, what includes is Asia. East Asia, they're probably talking about China and they're talking about China. They're probably talking about Korea and Japan too. But we keep saying that China is doing all these wicked things to be the superpower of the world. But let's give them a little money. 1.8 trillion to India. That's the only thing south of Asia, okay, is India. Japan is East Asia. Japan, Korea, all that. And then we give 3.8 trillion to the Middle East and North Africa. Am I reading these numbers wrong, family? No, I'm not reading it wrong. Okay. But yeah, then 10 trillion to sub-Saharan Africa. I like to ask where your reparations at. They're saying all the money that's going out. I just want to make sure I was reading this right. And then here we go. Foreign aid by country by 2022. The United States budgeted $38 billion for foreign aid spending. And they have Ethiopia, Jordan, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Congo, Yemen, Nigeria, Syria, Sudan, and Somalia. Millions of dollars. They're giving Ethiopia, that's part of North Africa, that's part of, no, I'm sorry. Ethiopia is the Horn of Africa. I'm all off. But if you notice, when I'm looking at a lot of this money, you see Asia is getting tons of money. Ethiopia, $1.1 billion, and Jordan, $1 billion. And everybody else is getting hundreds of millions of dollars. 4 ways to understand the $54 billion in U.S. spending on Ukraine. Did we forget about the war in Ukraine? Or is it the war on Russia, or is it Russia against Ukraine? I don't know at this point. I frankly don't care. I don't want innocent people to get killed, but nonetheless, this is where we are, family. It states here, more than $40 billion in additional aid to Ukraine approved by Congress on Thursday brings the U.S. total commitment during the Russian invasion to roughly $54 billion when combined with the aid package in March. Excuse me. And it states here a breakdown of where all this money is going. We're going to help their economy by giving them $9.4 billion. We're going to assist their military, giving them $6 billion. We're going to give them $12.5 billion of weapons and supplies. But look at this discrepancy. Look at this blatant, this out in your face act. We're going to give them $12.5 billion for weapons and other supplies, and then we're going to give them $4.7 billion for military supplies. Wait a minute, aren't weapons considered military supplies? This is what's in the bill. Like, we got to be smarter than this, American government. We got to hide this a lot better. Like, the American people are not stupid. Like, we know weapons is for military supplies, but you got other supplies. What are other supplies? Where is this money going, family? Dang. $7 billion in food assistance. $2 billion for migration and refuge assistance. Assistance for Europe, Eurasia, and Central Asia, $1.1 billion. Wait a minute. Why are we keep giving money to Asia? Yeah, like he tripping. I am. I just don't get it. Other foreign aid. Yeah. Put that in the slush fund. Other foreign aid. $1.5 billion. Then U.S. military deployments and intelligence, $8.1 billion. We are paying for our own military to essentially spy on Russia for $8 billion. It's some dudes up flying a UAV, and we're going to use some high-powered magnified satellites and like, yeah, they got a building over there. $8 billion. Wow. Diplomatic programs, $500 million. Enforcing sanctions, $0.3 billion. Administration for children and for families, only $0.9 billion. I don't agree with majority of this, but if anything, I have a heart, family. No matter the shade, no matter the color, especially for those innocent people. Hey, they could have increased that a little bit. Let me move on, family. So this is another breakdown of the budget and how America is going to spend money for 2023. And we're not going to stay long here. I'm just having you guys to do a quick one over and look at the bold, how we're going to spend all of this money, right? Reinvigorates democracy, human rights, and governance. We're going to spend $2.6 billion on that. Can anybody explain what that is? Can anyone break that down for me? Let's just read a little bit of it, because maybe it makes sense, right? To stem the tide of democratic backsliding and authoritarianism, expands programming to address corruption and corrosive capital, expands support for civil society and independent media. Now, I'm going to stop right there because I want you to focus in on a couple of things. There's nothing that's very executable, right? They say a lot of trick words like expand. How are you going to expand it? What are you actually going to do, right? It says it's going to expand support for civil society. How? When? Where? Like, give us the detailed plan as Americans, because we essentially pay these taxes and you're using all this money and we don't know how it's essentially being used. So do that. Let me move on. Provides critical humanitarian assistance. That means money for other countries. Plain and simple, we have the highest rate of homelessness as melanated people in this country, but we continue to give billions and trillions of dollars away to other countries. Michael Jackson said it the best before he passed. He had a song and he said, I don't really know, but they don't really care about us. He said something on those lines, but he was talking about the government. He was talking about how the government doesn't care about the people. And guess what? The government is people. The government is made up of people, but they all believe in this government machine. Maybe we're going to find some sensible things here. Supports the implementation of the national strategy for the gender equity and equality. What? Help me if I'm wrong, family. Supports the implementation of the national strategy for gender equity and equality. So you're paying that section almost $3 billion how to give gender equity and equality. How about just make a law and give them freedom of gender equity and equality? Why are we spending $3 billion and we can just spend a piece of paper? I don't get it. Maybe I'm totally off. And I'm looking at it from a different perspective. And so when you kind of rationalize these things, some people are like, oh, you don't know the law, you don't know this, you don't know that. I know enough that if they don't make it make sense, then it doesn't make any sense. Invest in a U.S. direct hire workforce with funding. Okay. I can slightly understand that. Increase U.S. aid and state programming to address the climate crisis to $2.3 billion. So we got a bunch of climate money here. $2.3 billion, $100 million. Family, it goes on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. This is how America spends money. This is how America spends your money. Good evening, Jermaine Anderson. Family, this is one of the most important presidencies that has ever been put together, because you have top cop Kamala Harris and you have Jim Crow Biden making passing some of the worst legislation in American history. They have already been labeled the worst presidency since Jimmy Carter. Because the only thing this presidency has done is overlook like certain campaigns like defund the police. No one supported that, not even top cop Kamala Harris. And here's the thing about defund the police. Some people are thinking about, hey, we need to bankrupt the police. No, the police needs money to operate. I'm not anti-police. I'm not. And I'm actually anti-defund the police. My slogan was decrease the police. Decrease them. Decrease their budget. Absolutely. Decrease their budget and help community programs. Do something that's going to help the people. How about in California, in Chicago, in DC, in Dallas, in Houston, and all the major cities around America? How about starting a homelessness program where you essentially build shelters for the homeless and try to clean them up and get them back on their feet? How about let's just try that program? We fork money over to all these other countries for all these quote unquote reasons, but we won't help the Americans that are on the fucking street today. We won't help these Americans who are homeless. Oh, they got there by themselves. Some of them did and some of them didn't. But hey, doesn't everybody deserve a second chance? We're going to help out every other country except our own countrymen who are sitting down, who are drugged out, who are tired, who suffer from mental health issues and disease. We're not going to help them, but we're going to give money to everybody else. I don't get it, family. I don't get it. I'm just looking at all this money. Implements the administration root causes strategy and collaborative migration management strategy. Nobody knows what this means. But this is how they just throw a bunch of word salad on pieces of paper and say, this is what we're doing with the money. We informed the American people. No, you didn't. This is a mirage. This is how they put the curtains over your eyes. This is how they do smoke and mirrors, family. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody knows what none of this means except the people who curated it and created it. Continued U.S. global leadership role in a sector with demonstrated success built upon decades of investment with a request of $4 billion to prevent child and maternal deaths, combat infection diseases, and control the HIV/AIDS epidemic. I'll let that one slide. Includes $745 million as U.S. aid to prevent future epidemics and pandemics that threaten the lives of millions each year by building country capacity and resilience. I guess we only get a pandemic every 100 years, but I guess always a good prevention measure. Yeah, now they're just giving money to the pandemic. Pandemic, $6.5 billion. What do we have here? We have pandemic, $745 million. Then we have pandemic again, and epidemic, $4 billion. Okay, yeah, about 10 billion. 10 billion. It's going to say 10 billion. Yep. About 10 billion. I'm sorry, family. That's more like 12 billion. Yep. Well, family, there you have it. I know some of you guys came on late, but nonetheless, this rewinded. We talked about a couple of things. I just want to kind of give you guys how this presidency, and again, I'm apolitical. I'm not a Republican. I'm not an independent. I'm not a Democrat. But I think if you start to look at what's occurring in America and how America has been shaped, and you realize how uneasy the country is, a lot of people in the world is uneasy. People are kind of like batting their eyes at driving into work. Food is expensive. Mass shootings are occurring. There's a war in Ukraine that they're trying to make us concerned and be worried about, which we should not. We have tons of illegal immigrants that they're trying to make citizens, where essentially when you think about yourself, I'm not anti-immigration, I'm anti-illegal immigration. And these states take in illegals and then they're talking about making them legal. I just think about if I was in another country illegally, they say, you know what, we're going to make you legal. Even though you broke our laws and came into our country illegally, we're just going to make you legal. But you broke one of our state laws. You broke one of our country laws. So commit a crime. Yeah, I'm speechless on that one. But anyway, family, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm going to start posting some more investing cards on my Instagram, so look out for that. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that like button, share button as well. Thank you all for joining. I do appreciate your time and also your comments. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired.